statements, any extra documents. Is one of the most straightforward ways to be able to get into this. And if you have been struggling with your using personal credit to try to run business or expand or scale, this is not the way. So we're going to tell you about how you can get access to business credit to the tune of $100,000, 120,000, 150,000 in the next 30 days. And I want to make sure that you have full access to this information. It is a formula, and once you know the formula, you can access it. And I'm going to share the formula with you right now. So please pay attention. This is life-changing information because it is so accessible pretty much by anyone. And what I mean by that is, what's going on, Juju? What I mean by that is there's very little red tape once this is established. And what you need to do is to think of all of the objections that you have or all of the reasons you feel like you wouldn't qualify for this. And I want to go through those. So I want you to put your questions in the chat, right? Put your questions in the chat as far as what are you thinking that you're thinking that's holding you back or that might be preventing you from taking advantage of this. And I want to dispel that because a lot of people will say, hey, I don't have business revenue. How am I going to get 100,000? How am I going to get 80,000? You don't have to have business revenue in order to take advantage of this. A lot of people say, my business is just opened recently, or I don't have a business credit score. I haven't built up my Paydex score. There's a lot of this stuff that you don't need once you have this formula. Once you know it and once you can apply it, then you are solid and good to go. And this can, like I said, this can be life-changing, game-changing information to be able to say, okay, now I've got 100K, now I've got 80K, 120K, 150K at 0% interest to be able to access and use for pretty much anything, investment purposes and things like that. Again, myself, I have been in the entrepreneurial space for the past 4 years or so. And over that time, I have obtained over $500,000 for our household in business credit at 0% interest. That we have used towards mentorships, towards real estate, towards just business in general, everything without having to impact and touch our personal credit, right? What's going on, Paul? So without having to impact our personal credit. And again, so I know this because I've been actively using these cards and these accounts, and I've got balances on some of them because some things have gone great in business and some things have not gone so great. And just being transparent, there are balances on some of these cards. And when I look at my personal credit, right, the last time I looked at my personal credit, it was 850, 842, 847, right? So I know firsthand that you can use these cards and they do not show up on your personal credit, right? The utilization doesn't impact your personal credit. The account doesn't show up, right? So this is a complete game changer because now you can get into it in the next 30 days. You could be, some of you watching right now could have access to $100,000 in the next 30 days, 120,000. If you want to know how could I possibly do that, Kyle? I want to tell you that right now, right? What's up, Tony? Thanks for the follow. All right. So how can you possibly do that? All right. This is what I want to tell you, the exact blueprint. So I want you to put your questions in the chat. Like, what is holding you back? I have paid a lot of money for this information that I'm about to share with you tonight. And I want you to be able to take advantage of it, to move your life forward, to push things forward. And especially if you're here at this time of night, wherever you guys are tapping in from, let me know where you're tapping in from. Like what city are you in? But for those that are pushing themselves forward and gaining information and looking to maximize things, that's who I want to be tapped in with. So I want to share the information with you. No gatekeep tonight. There's never any. Right. So what personal credit limits do you need? You've been studying this, but getting different answers. Okay. So Tony, I will tell you the exact answers. All right. And I can only tell you from my experience based on the fact that between me and my wife, we've gotten over 500,000 in business credit, right? At 0% interest. Again, you guys, please share this with somebody. This is a great time to share because I am dropping the exact blueprint. I started as a client, Tony. I started as a client and worked my way through. Like I said, it's over the past 4 to 5 years that I've been kind of in the real estate and entrepreneurship space. and started as a client, and then I realized how powerful this was. So then I started really studying under some mentorships and things like that. And then I was like, okay, I need to be able to help people with this. So that's what I do now, and I'm connected with a team that can help. Right. So under what business structure, Fuzzy? Let me know what you mean by business structure. Are you saying like, is it like an LLC or an S corp or a corporation, or are you talking about something different? Because when we talk about business structure, we're going to talk about how the banks need to see your business in order to give you the max funds, right? So Tony said LLC and personal guarantee. That is correct. That is correct. That's how we're starting. Now, to be straight, the one thing that I would like for you to take advantage of tonight, if we don't do anything else, or if my daughter wakes up, in the middle of the night and I got to cut off the live, if you don't do anything else, I want you to make sure you take advantage of a free consultation call, right, with the team, and that's going to be at fundingmyfuture.net. Go to fundingmyfuture.net, or you can even text me, and I will send you the link directly if you want. You can text me at 240 640 and 2, and I will text you the direct link, right? So our team can help with any type of funding across the board, right? So this is if you have a need for an SBA loan, business line of credit, a term loan, unsecured loan, personal funding. Like, we can help with all of it across the board, right? But a lot of that stuff is if you have time in business, your business has been open for more than 2 years, or you got, hey, what's up, Rio McGee? Thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. And Swami, thanks for sharing. All right. You guys definitely share this. Like I said, this is very, very valuable information that I want to leave with you guys. All right. So if you've been in business for a long time, and you got business revenue, and you've got tax returns, and you got employees, and you're rolling like that, we can help to connect you with a lot of these other products that require those things. Right. So again, same process. I want you to book a call with the team, right? Fundingmyfuture.net. Takes about 60 seconds to just fill out the form, right? But a lot of people might not be starting in that place, right? A lot of people, their business has not been open for a long time. Maybe a lot of people don't even have business revenue yet, right? A lot of people may not have a personal financial statements that they can submit and things like that, or tax returns in their business. So what I'm about to share with you is one of the most powerful ways to get into this, because you do not have to submit any of that stuff. These are no doc programs, right, where you can get into this without having to submit, again, tax returns, bank statements, personal financial statements, business revenue reports, and things like that, right? So Queen Cam, is there a link that you can connect from? I will send you the link, Queen, if you text me, or if you go to fundingmyfuture.net, right? That's going to be the fastest way. If you're running out of time this evening, that's the thing. That's the one thing I want you to take away is, if you book a call with a team, we can tell you the exact next step. It's going to be a free consultation. You're going to get value. You're going to get, you're going to walk away with awareness about your situation and your next step. But that's going to be the best move, right? So, Jan Lapp, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. So that's going to be the best move, Queen, is to book a consultation with the team. And you're either going to be talking with someone about your credit, like what needs to happen in my credit profile, because I'm about to break down the exact credit profile that the banks are going to be looking for so that you can get the max funding, right? Or what do I need to do in my entity, whether that's an LLC, S corp? And somebody asked earlier, hey, what's the best structure? So the structure does not matter according to this strategy, right? And by structure, we mean, what type of tax election do you have, or what type of entity? Do you have a LLC? Do you have a partnership? Do you have a sole proprietorship? Do you have a corporation? Do you have an S corp? None of that matters necessarily for this particular strategy, right? So you want to consult your tax person and things like that when it comes to looking at other ways to leverage that, or how that impacts you tax wise and things like that. But when it comes to getting $100,000, $120,000, right, $80,000, $150,000 in the next 30 days, when it comes to that, none of that stuff matters, right? For this particular thing, even having a business credit score, paydex score, it might help, but you don't have to have it. So this is how this is so powerful, is because we can walk in right now and say, and Tiffany, thanks for the share. We can walk in right now and say, okay, I'm opening my business. and I'm ready to push this forward, right? I'm ready to push this forward. In the next 30 days, I could have access to 100K, right? This is real. So one of my recent clients, from the time that she booked a call with the team to the time that she had a $90,000 available to her for her real estate business, was 22 days. 22 days. She did not have to submit, again, tax returns or bank statements or like business financial things, business plan. She didn't have to submit any of that. All right. And this is why this is so powerful, is because these are no doc programs. You can get straight into it. And it's one of the fastest ways, if you leverage this personal credit profile like I'm about to share with you, right? Again, no gatekeep tonight. Please put your questions in the chat. Anything that you want to know, what might be holding you back? Is this for me? Is this not for me? I want you to put your questions, because I like I said, I paid a lot of money for this information, and I want to share it with you for free tonight, because I believe in abundance. Regardless of what you do with the information, whether you decide to work with us or not, I want you to have the info so you can push your life forward, push your family forward, and get towards financial freedom and things like that. And this is one of the fastest and the most impactful ways to be able to do that, right? Terry, thanks for the follow, right? So A says personal funding, credit score over 740, right? So if you're looking for personal funding, we can help you with that. If your credit score is over 740, you might want to apply for business credit, right? Now, Sheena Bean says, who can apply? Can you apply with low credit? We're going to talk about exactly who can apply, right? If you have low credit, right, you're going to need to leverage some other strategies to be able to get into this, because for this particular strategy, right, we are bringing our credit profile to the table to be able to access these high limits in these business credit cards, right? Queen, thanks for the share. Hey, thanks for the share. You guys, please share this with somebody, right? I'm going in deep, no gatekeep, right? So Queen says you have no credit. All right, hey, now I'm gonna jump straight to this just for you, for Queen and Sheena, right? You got no credit, right? Here's what we're gonna do. You're going to get a pen, get your notebook, your phone, whatever you're doing, and take notes on what I'm about to share, because there are multiple ways that you can take advantage of this information right now, even if you have no credit. Right now, here's the step one that you're going to do. Again, before I go into the breakdown, that again, I'm going to give you the sauce on exactly what the banks are looking for, so you will know. Right, by the time this is done, you will know exactly what the banks are looking for and how to apply it. Right, but I need to share this with you, is that I don't want you to get discouraged if you feel like, okay, I don't qualify for this right now, because there are ways you can take advantage of it right now. Right now, what are those ways? Once you learn these steps, and once you write them down, like I asked, right? Once you learn these steps, number one, if this is not you right now, you can leverage what's called a credit partner. Write that down. A credit partner. What is a credit partner? This is somebody that is sitting on this credit profile, right? That's not doing anything with it. And you can link up and partner with them. So where the bank is going to be looking at their profile to be able to get the funding, and either we open an LLC for them and do it that way, or we add them as a member on your operating agreement for your entity, right? And that means that you, in the next 30 days, if you're tapped in with the right person, can still be able to access 100K, 80K, 50K, 120K, 150K for your business at 0% interest, right? Just thinking a little bit outside of the box, right? And being able to tap in with somebody, right? Community is immunity. To be able to tap in with somebody. Hey, Linda Smith, thanks for the follow. To be able to tap in with somebody and still be able to move forward, right? And there's a lot of our clients. There was somebody that was on the call the other night that said, hey, I don't qualify for this, but my fiance has this exact profile that you just laid out. User 420, thanks for the follow. Superwoman, appreciate you. Thanks for the follow. Somebody said my fiance has that. Can we still do it? I said, yep, you can do that right now. So she doesn't have to wait. Now, while she's waiting, right, this is what I suggest. While you are waiting, I suggest that you start now to work on building up your credit, right? And what is the best way to do that? Chase and Sebastian, thanks for the follow. What's the best way to do that? Is to get a consultation with the team, right? Because we can walk you through like exactly what you need to either add to your credit report or remove from your credit report, right? And your credit file to make it strong enough so that you'll be ready for funding, right? So there's a lot of people that can do like credit repair, but not everybody knows exactly what the banks are looking for when it comes to funding, so that we know, okay, are there any gaps in your report, right? Because we're going to go through this tonight. The credit score is not the only thing that matters, right? You could have a 720, you could have a 750, 780, I've seen in some cases, and your profile still isn't right, and you can still get denied by the banks for going for these products, right? So it's very important to understand like what the profile is that you're looking for, right? So that's the number one way. I hope you got that. Hope that didn't go over your head. That if you don't qualify for this right now, and you're gonna need to take some time to build up your credit, and you are going to commit to start today to build up your credit, right? And either just plow through it yourself, or ideally you're under some consultation and you can get the exact steps laid out. Say, okay, do this. This is going to be the best way to build up your credit, so you'll be fundable in the future, right? So now leverage a credit partner. Number two, you could be, since you're about to know this blueprint that I'm about to lay out for you, right? You could be referring people right now that have this profile that are looking for funding, and you could be getting paid out affiliate referral payouts right now, right? 20, 30 days from now. And case in point, one of the last payments that I sent out to somebody, is my friend is pregnant, super pregnant, and had a friend that said, hey, they're in real estate and they want to get funding and things like that. 30 days later, I sent her a PayPal for $2,252 for one client. So imagine if you did that once a month. Could you use an extra $2,200 a month? What if you did it twice a month or 3 times a month? Or what if you really, really went in? It's like, I'm going to spend, 30 minutes a day calling some people, and, calling some realtors, calling some tax professionals, and maybe I can get 5 a month or 10 a month, right? You can do the math on that. Like, things can get pretty crazy pretty quickly. So if you want to take advantage of that, I want you to put affiliate in the chat, or again, you can text me the word affiliate and your name, and I will get you tapped in with that. Again, you could text me at 240 640 2, and I'll get you tapped in with that, right? So Freeze Me says, how wouldn't you get qualified either a 750? How is that possible? If you got a 750 and not qualified, because Freeze Me, the credit score is based on a mathematical formula, right? That if you have certain things in place, then that's what the score adds up to, right? It doesn't mean that you have a certain number of accounts or the certain types of accounts, right? So let's just say, case in point, like if you have a $500 credit card, you got one credit card, but you managed it well. You never had any late payments. If you never had late payments, that's 35% of your score, right? So that's like 200 points just for not having any late payments. Cool, right? If you have a certain age on your report, but if you only have a $500 card limit, you can have a high credit score, right? But the banks are not going to see that as a strong enough profile because you haven't managed enough funds, right? The Groove Back, good evening. Here to learn. Affiliate. Okay, affiliate. So you guys, those that put affiliate, okay, I'm gonna watch the chat, right? But I want you to text me that word too, and text me your name, so that I know that as soon as this thing is over, I will send you the link, the direct link, right? So Freeze Me says you have about 5 cards with higher limits. All right, we're gonna go through that, Freeze Me, and everybody. We're gonna go through the exact blueprint right now, like exactly what you're gonna need to see in someone else. Grub, I see you with the affiliate. You guys text me at 240 642. Just send me a text. Just put your name and put the word affiliate, right? And I will let you know how you can get tapped in, right? And this is for those who are serious, like even if it's passively, like, okay, I could think of one person a month at least that is looking for funding that is going to meet these requirements, or like I'm ready to go in. You know what I mean? I can do 3 or 4, I can do 5 a month, and again, do the math on that, right? So we're going to go through the exact formula, right? And Brandy's B says business funding for startup nonprofit organization, lower personal credit score, right? So hey, if you're looking for nonprofit, this is not the scope of this live right now. However, you are able to leverage again grant funding. You can look up CDFI. This is just a little free side information. CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution in your area, and they probably have funds for your type of business, especially if you're doing nonprofit, you're helping the community, you're doing something. I'm gonna repeat it. So I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'm actually pin it. 240, 240, 642. Right. So I'm pinning that in the chat. You just text me that and put the word affiliate. And again, or if you're ready to get the link, right, you can put funding in that text, and I will send you both. I can see the link that you can get funded, or at least get your next steps laid out, right? Or you can put affiliate, and I can let you know how you can get tapped in, so that if you start now, like I said, 30 days from now, you could have a nice January just starting off if you just connect the right people, and with a little strategy behind it, you can move forward even further, right? So Grooveback, I see you with funding. Like I said, send me a text as well with that to that number that I just shared, right? So here we go. So we're gonna go through it. We're gonna go through the exact blueprint. How did we do this, right? And again, I'm telling you, I'm only telling you because I did it, right? How did we do this? That we didn't have a business that was open for that long. We didn't have any revenue to show. And how did we get over $500,000 between me and my wife to be able to use for, at 0% interest for 12 to 18 months? How is that possible? It's because of this formula that I'm about to share. And when you combine that with the right strategy under the right consultation, then it's up, right? So I'm gonna give you that exact thing right now. We're gonna go through it real quick. Those of you that have been waiting, that have your pen, your phone now, you're ready to take notes. I'm gonna go through the exact blueprint, right? And then if we have time, we're going to talk about the LLC structure, like what your LLC needs to look like in order to get the max funding from the banks. But I will be honest that the LLC structure and how that's set up isn't as important starting out as this personal credit profile, because we're using this profile to be able to get in the door, right? And if you have this profile and you don't have an LLC, even if you don't have one open, period, or you don't have an entity, period, right? My favorite things. Appreciate the share, you guys. Definitely share this. I am Natalie Rod Smith. Thanks for the follow, you guys. Thanks for that. All right. So the thing that I was saying is, and Sheena Beans, thanks for the share. Grub, appreciate the likes. So what I'm saying is that this is so powerful, right? Because we can access this without having any of that previous stuff. And this is the formula, because even if you don't have an LLC, we can open an LLC and we can set it up in a matter of days, right? To be able to do that, even if your LLC is brand new, right? In a matter of days, we can set it up. So if you have this personal credit profile, this is what you need to pay attention to, the exact profile that we need, right? In order to do that, then you're solid. And this could be anybody. Like I said, there's somebody that was on the live, this was their fiance, right? It could be a family member. It could be somebody in a mentorship group that if this is not you, that you have access to it. The world is abundant and it's right here for you, right? It's right here for you. If you just tap into the person, somebody is waiting and they don't have the time to execute the business. They don't have the resources. They don't have the access to the mentorships or different things like that. But you might have that desire and will and skill. And then you just link up with them and say, hey, I don't have any credit, but you have the credit. And then you partner up with them in that way. It's a very, very powerful thing that a lot of people are doing, right? So Miss Splash says you have a 10-year credit history, no collections, no inquiries, no lates. Miss Splash, you're in the ball game, right? So we're going to see if you have check marks on the rest of these bullet points, right? Thanks for the share, Rod Smith. Yep. So do you use the legacy business stacking? Let me know what you mean by legacy business stacking, or maybe once I get through this, right, then you can tell me if this is right or not, right? So when we talk about business stacking, let me know what you mean, because we're talking about this credit card stacking method, this 0% stacking method, right? And again, there's lots of ways to get funded, you guys, lots of ways to get funded, right? But I want you to understand the power of this 0% stacking method, because it's one of the easiest and best ways to get into it from the beginning. King Jafiz, thanks for the follow. Right, to get into it from the beginning, because you don't have to submit tax returns, you don't have to submit bank statements, you have to, like, all this stuff you don't have to do, right? And this opens up in the next 30 days. Some of you watching right now are literally 30 days away or 22 days away, according to one of my recent clients. Roland, what's up? Thanks for the follow. Right, 22 days away, 30 days away, 40 days away from having $100,000. And how long is it going to take you to save up $100,000? Somebody tell me. How long will it take you to save up 80,000, 120,000, 150,000, even 50,000, right? I don't care how much beans and rice that you eat, what kind of budget you got, it's gonna be a haul. And I'm talking about in the next 30 days, you can access this. This is game changing, right? And again, our team can help. If you have a business and you've been open for a while, you got income, you have tax returns that you can provide, you got employees, you got all this stuff. If you have that, we can help with SBA loans. You know what I mean? Up to 5 million or 5.5 million if you're doing commercial stuff. We can help with equipment financing, term loans and business lines of credit, but it's going to require those extra documents. But this program, this part here, does not require those documents. And this is why this is so powerful, right? Do you believe if we have bad credit, fixing it and preparing it to be able to eventually get funding? Yes, 1000%, JG, 1000%. This is why you need to book a call with the team either way, right? Go to fundingmyfuture.net, or you can text me at the number that I pinned it in the comments. You can text me funding, right? And I will send you the link to be able to get your next step laid out, right? And again, the team knows, okay, if your credit isn't great, the team knows not only how to remove the things from your credit report that need to be removed, but do we need to add anything to your report? All right. And does that need to season for a while in order for you to get the max funding or be qualified for funding? And even if you're taking my advice, my smart advice that I shared, the nugget that I shared as far as leveraging a credit partner, and even while you're leveraging your affiliate relationships and being able to make money 1,000 a pop, 2,000 a pop, 2,500, 3,000 a pop is not far-fetched at all. Even while you're doing that, just start today on building your credit, right? Because even if it takes a lot of our clients that need help with credit are getting results in the first 90 days, right? So if you think, what's 90 days from now, right? What's 90 days from now? That's February, March, right? So by February, you're saying, hey, I wasn't in a good place, but now I'm actually ready. That was what I needed. That's not a bad thing, because that time is going to fly by, especially with the holiday coming up, New Year. Time is going to fly by. You're going to blink, and that's going to be the time. So I would suggest that you start today, but I'm giving you the tools to be able to say, okay, I can actually leverage this now in multiple ways while I set myself up for success to be able to do it myself, right? All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. You guys put your questions in the chat. Put your questions in the chat. What banks and credit unions, right? Business line of credit and credit cards. Yep. So here's what we're doing. So we're talking about, this is the blueprint, right? That you're going to need. Here we go. Pins out, phones out, or whatever you got. Let's take notes. This is the part. If you haven't shared it, this is a great time to share, so that somebody may stumble across this, and it's life-changing information, because a lot of people just don't know that this exists. All right. A lot of people do not know. I am Natalie. If you need loans for a construction company, we can help with that too. So we can help with, like I said, we can help with loans, traditional loans and things like that. Or if you can use some of this credit stacking strategy, and I'll break down like what exactly the strategy is. But we can use the business credit stacking to be able to do things for construction as well. You know what I mean? For a construction company, because you do want to be mindful. We're going to get into this later, but a construction company is traditionally a high risk entity, a high risk industry, right? So you have to navigate that properly. And we're going to talk about ways to do that with the LLC, structure, or the dual LLC structure, or things like that, to be able to, position yourself to the banks so you're not high risk, and then you can still fund your higher risk business. But we can help with loans, Natalie. So if you need a direct loan, again, fundingmyfuture.net. I need you to book a consultation call with the team, right? We can help across the board, but I'm just sharing with you the power of this 0% funding. All right, so Grooveback is ready. Let's get it. Let's get it. Thanks for the share, Rod. All right, here we go. Number one, and I want you guys to be checking this off for yourself as we go. Number one, your personal credit cards in your name. Do you have at least $10,000 to $15,000 of your overall credit card limits? If you add up all your cards, is it over $10,000 to $15,000? If that's a yes, I want you to put 1 in the chat. If that's a no, I want you to put cards in the chat. All right. At least $10,000 to $15,000 in your name. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if we're tracking. Where we at? You guys taking notes? All right. So we got some cards. We got some ones. All right. Like I said, do not fear if you don't have it, because there is a strategy to be able to work towards it today. And I already told you can leverage this information if you write it down and take it for the value that it is, you can leverage this information now. All right, here we go. So that's number one. Number two is your utilization needs to be below 30% at minimum. Ideally, it's below 10%. And this is across all of your cards and each individual card. So if you have that utilization below 30% at least, I want you to put a 2 in the chat. If you do not have that, I want you to put utilization. Right? And I have a hack. If utilization is the only thing holding you back, I got a serious hack with utilization that we can deal with that without even having to really come out of pocket for real. Or change anything in your budget or situation. All right. So I think that some people are tracking. Number two, that's utilization, guys. This is the exact blueprint. I'm telling you, this is the sauce. No gatekeep. Right. And we'll talk about, for those that have utilization issues, we will talk about that. Right. If you want me to break it down, the hack, let me know. Let me know. And I'll loop back around to it. All right, here we go. Number three, your inquiries on your report needs to be at 3 max per bureau. So 0 to 3 per bureau. Right. And ideally, you have as few as possible in the most recent 6 months, in the last 6 months, because anything that's older than 6 months, it has a little bit less impact on these funding approvals and decisions. But anything that's in the recent 6 months, you need to be mindful. So that's why you don't just go trigger happy applying for everything, especially if you're thinking about getting business funding, business credit, or doing this strategy. You just want to be mindful of what you apply for right now. You want to be very strategic, because every time you get a new account or you get a new inquiry or things like that, depending on what you do, you just want to be mindful, right? Because the more inquiries you have, the more issues. All right, so that's number three. All right, so if you're solid on inquiries, if you have 3 or below, I want you to put 3 in the chat. If not, if you're above 3 on any bureau, I want you to put inquiries. All right. Now, for those that don't know, I'm going to just pause to explain this business credit stacking approach and why this is so powerful. All right. So our inquiries, I just said that these accounts do not show up on your personal credit. The utilization does not impact your personal credit. So just a quick example is, if I've got a $25,000 business card and I'm using $25,000 of it, completely using it, it's 100% utilized. What would happen to my personal credit? You would think, typically, I'm using a bunch of a credit card, or my personal credit goes down. Nothing happens to my personal credit, right? Because it is completely separate. The count does not show up on my personal credit. Now, the only impact to my personal credit when we do this strategy is there is a hard inquiry on my personal credit just to get into the door, to get the approval for the card. Now, we are going to multiple banks and getting their 0% business credit product, right? And the amounts that we're going to get approved for, if you have the right strategy, right? And if you know the right way to do it, is going to be anywhere between $10,000 up to $20,000, up to $25,000, up to $40,000, up to $50,000 per card. So we're stacking those multiple over and over, right? And that's how we add up to, in very early on, even in the first round, that's how we add up to 100K, how we add up to 120, 150K, because we're getting multiple, right? And now we're getting inquiries on each of these. So let's say we went to 6 banks, right? And we got 6 inquiries from 6 banks and we ended up with $100,000. Cool, right? But now we got these 6 inquiries. Now, write this down if you don't know it. Any inquiry that is not tied to an open and active account on your personal credit file, you technically have the ability to be able to remove those inquiries from your credit report. So this is the power, because now we can go in and we can get all these different cards. We get all these inquiries. And guess what? Since none of those cards, if you're doing the right banks, none of those cards show up on our personal credit, we can go and wipe off all of those inquiries. And guess what? Starting fresh, rinse and repeat. And now 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, we can go and do this again over and over and over and over. Right? SSD for me. Thanks for the follow. Right? We can do this over and over and over, rinse and repeat. Right? This is incredibly powerful. So again, increase. Do you have 0 to 3 inquiries per bureau? That was number 3, right? Here's number 4. CC, thanks for the follow. Here's number 4. Do you have at least 10 primary accounts in your name that's on your credit report? All right. So What are primary accounts? That's all your accounts, not just credit cards, mortgages, student loans, auto loans, store cards, credit cards. Do you have at least 7 to 10 on your profile? If you look at total accounts, all right. Now, if that's you, if you have 7 to 10 or more, I want you to put a number 4 in the chat. If that's not you, if you have less than 7, then I want you to put accounts. And I hope you guys are tracking. We're almost there. We're almost there. And these are accounts in your name. All right, here we go. Again, some of you are sitting on money right now. Some of you are sitting on money. All right, so Rod Smith. So if you got some of these other things, you got the credit limits, and you got some of these other things solid, you might just need a few more accounts to round out your profile. And again, when you go to fundingmyfuture.net or you text me and I'll send you the direct link and you meet with a team. And once you're through that first part, then they'll be able to guide you and say, okay, we're going to add this, this, and this, or we're going to do this to kind of put you in place. Right? There are ways to be able to do that in short order. And if that affects our next bullet point of your age, then we have ways to deal with that. So here's number 5. Number 5 is your average age of your credit needs to be 2 years or more at minimum. Ideally, it's 4 to 5 years or more. Okay, so, and you can look at your credit monitoring or whatever you have. It's going to show you the average age of all of your accounts, right? If that's less than 2 years, then we have a problem. If it's more than 2 years, we can get in the door. But if it's 4 or 5 years or more, that's the sweet spot. So if that is you, all right, I want you to put a 5 in the chat. Put a 5 in the chat if your age is over 2 years. If your age is under 2 years on your average, I want you to put age. And again, we got some solutions and some tricks to be able to navigate age if that's your only problem. All right, here's the last one. Last one, number 6, is no derogatories, no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy. And the late payments is the only caveat for late payments is if you have a late payment that's older than 2 years old, then we can still get in the door. All right, so no late payments in the last 2 years, no other derogatories. All right, so somebody tell me if that's a check mark for number 6. Put a number 6 in the chat if you've got no derogatories or at least no late payments in the last 2 years. And if you do have an issue with that, then I want you to put derogatory in the chat. Derogatory in the chat. Now, we just went through, this is the exact thing that the banks are looking for. Again, I hope you're taking notes. I paid good money, both as a client, as a mentee, right? Repo, I would say the same thing. So that's something that we would need to be addressing, right? And again, the team can help you with that. To say, okay, what in your profile needs removing, or do we need it adjusted, or do we need it, fixed or corrected or repair, whatever the case, right? We can help with that. Again, fundingmyfuture.net, book a call with a team, a free consultation call, right? Or you can text me. I'm going to put my number in again. You can text me at this number, 240-240-642, and I will send you the link, right? So I just gave you, does buy now, pay later count? Ronnie, does buy now, pay later count for your number of accounts that you have? Let me know what you mean. So it can. How long do you have to wait to seek funding after fixing your credit? You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. Right? Once it's there, once the report is there and it's good, then you're solid. Oh, 30-day late on that type of account, buy now, pay later. Yeah. So we want to deal with that too. And again, there's ways to deal with it, because we might be able to ask forgiveness sometimes directly from the company, or we might have to get it repaired where we can get the late payment reverse, using some of the laws and things like that. Or in some cases, we might just have to remove the entire account from your report. All right. So not that you still don't owe it, but the account might not show up on your report anymore. And now we can potentially move forward. All right. So the team can guide you on what those next steps are. Right. So you guys, this was it. Thanks for the share, Queen. Like I said, please share this with somebody. This is game changing. So if this was you, if somebody who has check mark, check mark, check mark on all those bullet points that we said, I want you to put ready in the chat. All right, I want you to put ready in the chat. If you got check marks on all of those, right? And if there's anything that is holding you back, right? A15 renovations. If that's you ready, I would suggest that you book a call with the team, fundingmyfuture.net, because you might be 30 days away from 100K, from 120K, 80K, even regardless of where you're if you have an LLC or entity or not. Right now, for anybody that's not ready, what is holding you back? I want you to put that. Which aspects? Is it the cards? Right. I'm going to run through it real quick. So is it the cards? You have $10,000 to $15,000 limit on your overall cards, and then you have at least 2 cards that are above $3,000 limit each. Right. You've had those for a year plus. Is it the cards? Is it utilization needs to be under 30%? Is your increase need to be 0 to 3 per bureau? Is your primary accounts on your credit file needs to be at least 7 to 10? Is your average age of your credit above 2 years? And do you have no derogatories and no late payments in the last 2 years at least? All right, groove back. So we said about hacking, the utilization. If you guys want to know about utilization, let me know. Nikki, is that your only thing holding you back out of all the bullet points that we just shared? Is utilization the only thing holding you back? Let me know. And this is very possible because a lot of times people are running business, you know what I mean, investing or doing different things and using the personal credit because that's what you got and you're using it, and then your credit score drops as a result of that because your utilization goes up, and that hampers you in other ways. I was just on a call with a real estate group. Somebody said that he said I was doing a flip in real estate and I'm using my personal credit and my score is suffering and now it's preventing me from doing other stuff. And, and I said, hey, you could be using business credit for that. All right, so let's talk utilization. Pins out. Again, you guys should share this, right? Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the gifts. GT Empress, appreciate you. This is a great time to share this, right? Like I said, no gatekeep in me. The utilization. And Groove Back, thanks for the follow. And I do have to say this real quick. Like I said, as far as the gatekeep situation, I believe in abundance, right? So I believe if I give you the sauce, if you could decide to run with it, and that's all good because now your life has been improved, right? If you decide to work with us, that's great, because now we're working together, right? I believe that I don't have to, no scarcity. I don't have to have scarcity, because I do genuinely want everybody to improve, right? And for that reason, another thing that I am passionate about is to make sure that the next generation is equipped and educated, and set up for success, right? For being able to move forward in the best way possible. So for that reason, hey, what's up, Detro? I have committed to donate and reinvest a portion of my revenue and my profit to a fund that's going to be helping young entrepreneurs to get into business, to get into mentorship, to get into financial literacy, to get into investment, right? To be able to move the generational wealth needle across the board for everybody, right? So that's just a personal thing. So if you're working with me in any way, then know that that's part of the equation. Is that I want to lift all boats at the same time. All right. And this is why I want you to have as much of the information as possible. Right. Because in order for me to meet my goal, and this is not something that I did just because I got a whole bunch of money and just have too much money. But I really felt like God was telling me, you got to start this thing off from a standpoint of giving. And from that, you got to get that scarcity thing out. Right. So it's all abundance. So I got to help a lot of people in order to reach my goal, because and in the course of that, there's going to be a whole bunch of other people that are benefiting at the same time. Right. So I did want to share that. All right. I appreciate you guys. It's Nikki. All right. So let's back to the game. Utilization. All right. Utilization. What's up, Regina? Good to see you, my friend. Back utilization, right? So if utilization is the only thing holding you back, here is the sauce. All right. This is so crazy. All right, so here we go. We got to understand this. So utilization, your credit score when it comes to utilization is based on Donna Warren, get a pen. Is based on your personal revolving balances, right? On your personal revolving balances. That means any balance that you have on your credit cards. That's what your utilization is. How much are you using out of your credit card limits? Here's what it's not based on. It's not based on any installment products. Kyle, what are installment products? Glad you asked. Installment products are like loans, like personal loans or auto loans or things like that, right? Anything with a fixed payment. So that's why you don't get dinged for having a high utilization on a loan that you just got, because it's totally different. So here's what you can do, right? You can essentially move the amount over from your personal revolving cards over to a personal loan or an installment product, and that automatically changes things. So let me give you the example, right? So let's just say you had $10,000 balances on your personal credit cards, and let's say you were utilized, almost 100%, and your credit score is 6 something, 5 something as a result of it. And that's the only thing holding you back. And you're like, Nikki, and that's the only thing holding you back, right? Regina, this is it's crazy, right? So here we go. Let's walk through this so you understand how crazy this is, right? And you just don't know what you don't know. So I got $10,000 on my credit cards, right? And that's the only thing holding me back from funding. I can literally go, and the team can help you with this. I can get a personal loan for $10,000 in the next 24 to 48 hours, right? Recently somebody got funded with a personal loan, like literally the same day. The funds were in their account the same day after doing the application, right? So 24 to 48 hours, I potentially could get a personal loan for $10,000. Now, how does that change? I still owe $10,000 because I had it on the credit cards, and now I owe it on the personal loan. All right, nothing changed. However, everything changes because I use that money to pay off the credit cards. Credit cards go down to zero, and guess what happens? My utilization drops to zero. So that portion of my credit score, your utilization accounts for like 30% of your score. That's like 150 points, 160 points. So that means that even just with that one move, I could potentially raise my scores up to 150 points, right? So my credit shoots up immediately. And now guess what? Now I am ready for business funding. So that's the only thing that was holding me back. So I'm ready for funding. So now I can go and get approved for 100K, for 80K, for 120K, 150K, right? And then that same 10,000 that I have, I still owe the 10,000, and you're going to be actually paying less in interest, even if you just left it like that and left it with the personal loan, right? You're going to be paying a lot less than the 29% interest or 25% interest that's on your personal credit cards, right? So that even if I left it there, that would be a solid move anyway, because my credit score goes up. But my credit score is now ready for business funding, right? So I get that 100K, and now I can effectively either liquidate or balance transfer. There's different ways to do it, but I can effectively move that 10,000 over from the personal loan, pay off the personal loan, and move it over to the business credit. And now that business credit is at 0% interest. So now I just went from 29% interest over to 0% interest. Now the question is, and this is what somebody brought up, I hope he's still on. Discount King, are you still on? He said, if you can't fund your own business, you shouldn't be starting a business, right? Now, this is kind of along those lines. It's kind of along those lines, Discount King, right? If you don't know how you're going to make new money on the money that you get, then this is not for you, right? And when you say fund your own business, I just want to make sure I understand what you mean by that, right? Because if I can access $100,000, right, $120,000, and then if I can't use that to make more money, then I have another issue. Okay, so Nikki, tell me if this makes sense, right? And somebody said, what if I can't get a loan? AJ Buffy says, what if I can't get a loan because of my credit? All right, glad you asked that. And T-Tax, thanks for the follow. D Long, thanks for the follow. All right, user 172, appreciate the follow, you guys, and appreciate the shares. What if I can't get a loan because of my credit? Well, this is why it helps to link with the team. All right, this is why it helps to link with the team, because we know of various products that can meet various profiles. And guess what? Even if we had to, because of this strategy, even if we had to go to like what's called a subprime lender, right, where they will give loans out to people that have lesser credit, but guess what? The interest rates are going to be a lot higher, right, and things like that. But we might not have to care about that. Why wouldn't we care about the interest rate? Somebody tell me, why wouldn't we care about the interest rate on a personal loan just because our credit was lower if we know that the result is I'm going to now be in a position where my credit is going to increase, and now I can get funding, and now I'm going to pay off this personal loan in the next 30 days because that was the only thing holding me back. Now, if it's not the only thing holding you back, you're in a different place. But for Nikki, that was the only thing holding her back. So even if I had to pay 30% interest on a personal loan, right, that the interest wouldn't even accrue because I would be out of it in the next 30 days, or the next 40 days. So let me know if that makes sense. So if your credit is good or your credit is decent, then you'll get a decent rate. If your credit is not good, then there's probably some sort of option that you can access. That's probably going to be a higher interest rate, but that's part of the strategy. We're going to get out of it in short order, right? And have that paid off and be ready to move forward. Let me know if that makes sense. AJ Buffy, let me know if that makes sense. So Nikki says utilization is high on credit cards, but you have a loan that is personal and never late. Okay. So that's good. So again, this is going to be your consultation with the team to say, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to add? What do you have? This is why these consultations are so valuable, you guys. Again, I want you to go to fundingmyfuture.net and take advantage of the free consultation, because either it's going to look at your credit and say, okay, what in the credit profile needs to be adjusted, right? Or you're going to be looking at funding and saying, okay, what do I need to do to set up in my LLC, or, whatever the case, right? So one of those two, you're going to be meeting with an advisor that's going to talk about one of those two. And either way, you're going to have a next step laid out for you to say, okay, this is the most efficient way to move forward. All right. But you guys, this is like super sauce. I told you guys I've paid money for this. It's hard to explain like how valuable something is, but I just hope somebody gets it. Right. That utilization hack is significant, and it's literally just shifting debt from one thing to another. Why wouldn't they tell us this? Who knows? Now you know. Right? So D-Long says you have over 800 score across the board. Never thought about trying to get a business loan before. Yeah, D-Long. So remember, these are not just business loans. We're talking about this is business. These are business credit products, right? Business credit cards, and which means that whatever you get, this is another powerful part, is whatever you get, you don't have to use it right away. Right. And if whatever you're not using, you're not paying on. So it's not just like a direct loan. We can get you access to loans as well. But this particular, thing that I'm telling you about that you can take advantage of is that 800 credit score. More than likely, if you hit those check marks, because like I said, I've seen 800 credit score get denied before, right? Because they don't have these bullet points that we just talked about that the banks want to see in your profile that makes it robust. So I hope you guys took notes on that. Right. So, but yeah, if you haven't thought about that, so D-Long, this is the exact case. So D-Long, if you have an idea for what you're going to do in business, okay, and now you got 100K that you can use that you didn't know you could use. Now you got 120K at 0% interest for the next 12 to 18 months, right? You have those funds behind you. Now, if you don't have an idea of what you do for your business, right, or you don't know how you would use it to be able to make new money. Again, if you can't answer this question of, if I gave you 50K, could you make 60? Could you make an additional 10? Could you make an additional 20? If you don't know what you would do to do that, then you need to start getting into some networks, right? So D-Long, so technically you could be leveraged as a credit partner, right? To where someone else that's ready to execute, again, there's got to be somebody you trust, obviously, but someone else that's ready to execute, and they said, I only need the funds. Now you guys can partner together, and you could be getting paid off of your credit because you just provided the funds and they went and executed. And now you guys are both up. It's totally possible. Right? So a lot of us are sitting on funds, are sitting on access that we're just not using. Right? Nikki, I hope that makes sense. Yep. AJ Buffy says it makes sense. Yep. Can you get funding without credit? Yep. You can make 100K more, AJ Buffy. You can make 100K more if I gave you 100K. Hey, if that's you, then you need to be on this right now. If you talk about without credit, AJ Buffy, were you here when I talked about um Infinite Grace Home Care? How can you get in contact with me? You can text me at 240, 240, 640, and 2. Right. But the best thing to do is to book a consultation call with the team, right? Because they're going to be able to look at your overall situation. Everybody's situation is different. I was just saying that these consultations are so valuable because it's like a game of chess trying to figure out, okay, well, what state are you in? You know, what are your goals? What type of business do you have? You know, what banking relationships do you currently have? You know, like all of that, it's all those moving pieces to try to figure out, okay, what's the best funding sequence for you? What are the best next steps? What are the best products for you? Because like I said, we've been talking about this 0% stacking method, which is incredibly powerful for so many reasons, right? But there's also business lines of credit and term loans and unsecured loans and SBA loans, right? Vehicle financing and equipment financing. There's all these other things that we can help with if you are in line with that. All right. So you guys put your questions in the chat. So like I said, AJ Buffy, if you weren't here when I said, how can you leverage this? Let me say it again. Let me say it again real quick. So if this is not you right now, number one, you need to start now on building your credit, right? Do not be intimidated if you feel like, okay, this is going to take 90 days. Kyle said most of the credit repair is taking up to 90 days for a lot of clients. Don't be intimidated by that. If you need to start getting credit cards in your name, high limit cards from certain credit unions that are going to give out $10,000 limits, $20,000 limits to set you up, and it's going to take a year for those cards to season, do not be afraid of that year. Because guess what? I blinked my eyes and it was January of 2025. And now we're in December. Somebody tell me that I am lying, that you did not experience the same thing, that this year did not fly by. The same thing is going to happen next year, guaranteed. And you're going to blink and it's going to be December of 2026. And you could either be in two places. Either you started to do the work and put in the work and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And ideally you did it under consultation of somebody that knew what they were doing so that you don't have to, have mistakes and missteps. And now you are set up to be able to access yourself 100K, 120K, 150K. And guess what? When your personal credit is solid, life is just better, period. Because all of your interest rates are going to be lower. So that means you just are just worth more, right? You have to pay less for everything when your credit score is higher, right? You get access to different things. And especially when you're using business credit, right? When you're executing these moves and doing business, now these balances don't show up on your personal credit. So now you can keep that personal credit intact, right? So it doesn't have to fluctuate and you can just keep that access. Everything is better. So you might as well start working today. Get the education, get the information, start working today on it. All right, enough of that. So that's the long term, right? But what can I do now, Kyle? Now, while you start working, number two is you can be leveraging a credit partner. Like I was just talking about with D Long. You could be leveraging a credit partner and say, okay, this person has this credit profile that I just explained. And now I've learned, Kyle told me to take notes. So I took notes. And now I know the exact profile that someone's going to need to get 100K in the next 30 days, 120, 80K, 50K, 150K in the next 30 days. I know exactly what they're going to need. So I can partner with this person and we can get them funded either on their own LLC, right? Or we can add them as an on your operating agreement as a member, right? As a majority member, which is just on paper for basically for the banks, so that the banks look at that person when it comes time to get the funding, right? So either of those can work, which means that you can now, if you just tap in with that person or are resourceful enough to figure out who is that going to be, and this could be a family member, so this could be somebody in a mentorship group that you have. All the options are open and endless. But if you partner with somebody, you can, in the next 30 days, still access 100,000, 150,000, 80,000 in the next 30 days, right? No tax returns, no bank statements, no business revenue, no time in business, none of those things. Now, what's the number three way? Now that you know this sauce, you could literally be referring people that are looking for funding that have this profile that don't realize that they can access this. You can be referring people and getting $1,000 a client, $2,000 a client, $2,500, $3,000 a client. right? And like the example that I gave was I just paid somebody $2,252 for one client referral that they sent. And if you repeat that multiple times, then you do the math. All right. If you want to know about that again, I need you to text me the word affiliate. Put affiliate in the chat, or text me the word affiliate and text me your name so that I know who you are, and I will send you the direct link to get tapped in with that. Or text me funding so I can get you the link to get you on your path to get funded. Right. So let me know. Hopefully this is making sense, you guys. Again, it's hard to explain like how valuable this is, how important it is, and how it, again, it's a fast track to be able to fund your future. Right. This is literally why I started the company, because you can push things forward in a very aggressive way when you have access to funds. It's like it changes what you think about. And the number one thing is mentorship, right? Mentorship, meaning I'm going to tap in with somebody that knows exactly the steps. They know exactly what they're doing. They have the success. Their clients and their mentees have the success, and they know the exact things that I need to do whatever thing I'm interested in business. And they are going to tell me, right? They are going to tell me exactly what to do. And now I have the resources to pay them to get like right in their pocket. And that can be done for, I would say, anybody in the world, you guys, practically between $3,000 up to $50,000. You can get in somebody's cell phone. You can get their personal number and all of their contacts, the network, the tools. Like, what do I need to do to execute this? AJ Buffy, you say you need money for marketing and leads. 1,000% we can use this for marketing and leads. Right. And not only that, if you're using it for ads and things like that, Money Man, make sure you text me as well. Right. I'm gonna look at the chat, but make sure you text me as well. 240-642. Right. But yeah, marketing ads. The other thing we haven't talked about is when you're using business credit properly, you're getting points on everything that you spend for your business. So if you're using the right cards, right? Like there's like for example, like the Amex Business Gold, you're going to get 4x points on every dollar you spend on ads. Some people are spending 10,000 a month, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 a month on ads. And that stuff adds up, especially when you have that multiplier and then you use it properly with the right, travel partners and things like. There's a whole strategy we can talk about, but use it with the right travel partners. Now you're getting double, triple, quadruple on that. I had a friend that he was using a debit card for this type of stuff. And if he had been using a business card for almost any of it, he could be taking his family to Dubai like every month just off of the rewards points. So it's definitely possible. You can use this stuff for anything. Why? Because either you can pay directly for it with a card, or if you can't, like certain things where you're getting into real estate, like a down payment or things like that, or I need a SBA loan, so I need to come up with that. There are ways to liquidate the funds off of the cards into cash, right? That do not show up as a cash advance, where I'm paying high interest and high fees. They just show up as a purchase. So you're in your 0% period. You're getting points on it, right? So you can do pretty much anything that you want to with it, as long as you have the strategy, right? And as long as you are not thinking like super, super long term, because we don't want to be doing something that's going to give us a return in 10 years, right? For this type of funding, we want something that's going to be active and say, okay, I'm going to get this in the next 6 months. I can flip this into double, or I can flip this into profit. In the next 30 days, ideally, what can I do in 30 days? If I had 50K, if I had 70K, if I had 100K, what would I do to be able to turn this into new money in 12 months? Again, are you doing a flip in real estate? Are you doing what is that? So guys, put your questions in the chat. Thanks for the shares. I'm going to go back and make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. If you're just joining, did you miss out on the blueprint, on the exact profile that somebody needs in order to get access to 100K in the next 30 days? Did you miss out on that? Right. Thank you guys for the likes. Thanks for the shares. Right. If this has been valuable for you, then send a gift. This helps the algorithm to know that this is good information. Is going to get it out to more people. And I already told you my goal was to get this information in the hands of as many people as possible, right? So let me make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. What's the percentage that we charge for the service? Right. So good vibes. So this is gonna vary, right? But the important thing is it's going to be a fee on the back end, right? Whatever fee is. So it's performance based. So if we don't perform and don't get you the funding that we're saying that we can get you, nobody gets paid, and nobody likes that, right? So there's other services that you can do that you're going to pay $15,000 up front to get into that sort of service. You're going to pay $30,000 literally to get into, just get started, right? Up front. So this is like it's on the back end. Now, the other thing about the back end is now I don't have to have money to start, because guess what? I'm going to use the bank's money to pay the fee. Hold up, I gotta get this. I'm going to use the bank's money to pay the fee. So I'm leveraging someone else's money to be able to get into this, to get money that I did not have before, right? To pay that fee. And that's at 0% interest. I'm getting points on that and rewards on that to begin with. And now the question is, again, what am I using the rest of the funds with to be able to do the business, to be able to add value to the world, to be able to make new income and new money? That's the other question. AJ Buffy, thanks for the gifts. Appreciate you. Right? How can you get in contact? Infinite Grace Home Care. If you didn't know, send me a text. Right? 240 642. Right? 10% is the usual fee people charge. Shebas, yes, that is the usual fee. However, it's going to vary based on the product that you're going after, right? But 10% is a standard. All right. I see sometimes 12 to 15%, 20% in some cases, and again, you want to be mindful of this. I want to share this with you. So there are options out there, like I said, no gatekeep, right? There are options out there where you can pay like a flat rate, right? Where I'm paying a flat rate up front again to be able to get, help for a year or something like that. Now, the only issue with that, it depends on your goals, because if you do a flat rate, you kind of get flat rate service, right? Now, what I just shared with you, the blueprint I just shared with you, is something you can walk away with and say, okay, I'm ready to get funded. Now, the amount that you get funded is going to vary based on the type of help that you get, or the type of strategy that you use, or the sequence that you do, right? So depending on how you go about this, the results can vary. Now, let me give you an example, right? So with company A, right, again, and this case is like the flat rate option. Company A is not really concerned about getting you the max. They just want to be able to push through as quickly as possible, which can be useful. But got an approval. Let's just say it was American Express for Amex card. Their approval was $4,000 on this Amex card. Now, with my client that was going through, we got them on the same card around the same time frame. We got them $28,000. So $4,000 versus $28,000. Right now, this is how we're able to we can say, okay, we can get you 100K, 130K, 150K, 80K in the next 30 days, because the approval amounts are a lot higher. They're a lot different. Now, no shade to $4,000, because it's $4,000 that you didn't have before. And if you did that 6 times, now you got $24,000 you can use for business. If you need $24,000 and that would be dope for you, it might be worth it to pay the flat rate, right? Or if you don't have a compressed timeline that you want to do it in, you say, hey, I can wait a year to be able to get, my 100K, versus I want it like in the next 30 days. That's going to be some of the difference, right? So I hope that's helpful and makes sense. So let's go back through some of the information and the questions. Guys, put your questions in the chat. Best use of zero APR funding aside from lending or real estate. Alonzo, are you still around? Alonzo, let me know what you mean. Are you asking what's the best use, right, besides lending or real estate? Because those are great ones. But I say marketing is good, right? Mentorship is great, unless you're agreeing with me about mentorship, right? Mentorship is one of the most powerful things, because you're stealing somebody's success, right? And you're eliminating problems, right? So mentorship is great. Marketing and ads is great, right? Down payments, construction costs, materials, and things like that inventory. Very, very powerful. All right. So Dr. Naomi, so you said you were missing what I said. So let me know. Let me know if you're what are you guys missing? Right? Because we can go through the LLC entity structure, right? What do you need to have in your entity to make it the best setup, right? But I need you guys to really, really understand this personal credit because, like I said, there's multiple ways that you can take advantage of this right now, right? Multiple ways to take advantage of it. So what that's really the sauce because we can create an LLC, we can create an entity, we can set it up relatively quickly, right? But that personal profile is the sauce. All right, you guys put your questions in the chat. All right, here we go. So I'm just scrolling back just to make sure I didn't miss anything. So Alonzo says you have a 250 and zero business credit right now. What should you do? If you got 250, Alonzo, hey, you need to be you need to be figuring out either if you have no idea what to do, you probably need to tap in with a partner that's ready to execute. Right? Or you need to be looking at, okay, what mentorship do I need to be tapping in with now that I have this? I can pay somebody to teach me how to do the thing at a high level. And let me give you one example is there's one mentorship. A lot of these high ticket mentorships, if you vet them properly, they have promises that are at a high level. So there's a mentorship that is $25,000. And for this $25,000, what they're saying is, hey, we're going to teach you how to make $100,000 a month. Right? How to make $100,000 in a day, how to make $50,000 recurring or $30,000 recurring monthly, right? So that's the type of stuff that they're talking about. So the question is, do I have $25,000 and where is that coming from? You could today tap in with that particular mentorship and say, I got 25,000, teach me how to make $100,000 in a day. And maybe it'll take 90 days to build up and maybe it'll take some work. But once I know that, I make $100,000 in a day and I can make $30,000 a month. You know what I mean? So that's those high levels to be able to say, okay, who's going to give me the exact sauce to be able to push this thing forward, to know exactly what to do, right? So if you, Alonzo, don't know that, then you need to be seeking that out, right? Or there's somebody that is already ready to execute. They already know exactly what they're about to do. They just don't have the funds. You can be the partner, right? And you can still participate, but you can just basically provide the funding. Right. Or like somebody talking about, you could do lending and real estate, all sorts of stuff. All right. User 103 says, is it plastique? Is it plastique? It's not just plastique, you guys. As far as liquidation, how do we liquidate the funds into cash? So there's ways to use plastique, but the plastic has a lot of limitations, right? So we have a direct in-house way to liquidate that is compliant. You know, you don't have to jump through hoops and things like that. And there are lots of strategies out there, right, where people can liquidate into cards and do it for free and things like that. But it's a lot of hoops to jump through and it's a lot of gray area, some of which I'm not personally comfortable with integrity wise, right? A lot of gray area. But you can do it. So I think the most straightforward way to do it is to just work with somebody that can do it for you and you factor in the cost of that with whatever it is that you're doing, right? So yeah, thanks for that question. All right, so here we go. So Sheba says you're trying to fund the LLC. You just got the LLC 2 weeks ago. Personal credit is great, 790. No inquiries at all. You want to hit Chase first. All right, Sheba's, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. However, you just want to think about how much do I want to get from this? What is your goal, Sheba? Let me know. Because if you do that properly with the right structure and the right sequence, right, in the right order, then you can maximize that to say, okay, now I'm convert this into, again, I can convert this into 100K and 150K in the next 30 days, right? If you navigate that on your own, you can stumble into 20K approval from Chase. That's dope. But it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder to piece all those things together to be able to do it all at once. All right. So I want you to let me know, like, what is your goal? Because the size of your goal is going to depend on, is going to determine like what kind of help you need and how comfortable are you with getting bumps and bruises and things like that in this approach. Right. Shibas, you say you want it in 30 days, you want 150. You need to tap in. You need to tap in with the team. Right. If that's your profile, text me 240 642 or go to fundingmyfuture.net. And Shibas, thanks for the follow. Right. Go to fundingmyfuture.net and you can just click the link. You can do that right now. Click the link. It'll take you 60 seconds to fill out your information and get a call booked with the team. Again, depending on your credit profile. Either that's going to be someone talking about your credit to be able to move things forward, or somebody is talking about how do we get you funded as soon as possible, right? Are we checking the boxes? You're good, 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 good. If you're good, how do we get you funded as soon as possible in the next 30 days? Right? So this is an important point, right? Because Sheba's said she needs 150K. If you for your business was like, I only need 10K to be able to push it forward, you can take the information I gave you. You can probably stumble into 10K. You might get some bumps and bruises, like I said. You might get some denials, some random stuff, some frustration, and that may or may not be worth it. But you can stumble into that. But if you're trying to stack like a full amount like that, like 100K, 150K, 120. Because I just put it in the chat, Sheba's 240, 240, 640, 2. Right. And Deuce, thanks for the follow. All right. So if you're trying to stack like a large amount like that, again, it's just the sequence, right? Because it's going to depend on everyone's situations. Like, what state are you in? The state is going to determine, okay, which banks do we go to? And there might be some other banks that we do that are in the state, some other credit unions that we go for that are in the state, right? According to your profile or your existing relationship. There's like a lot of factors. And then the order matters too. Like we said before, when you go for these business credit card products, right, they're going to pull a hard inquiry from your credit report, right? So some banks care more about hard inquiries than others. Some don't want to see any on there. So we got to make sure we do those first, right? And then some don't really care much at all. So we save those for last. So the sequence matters too. And this stuff kind of changes from day to day. So this is why it helps to be on top of things. And it's a lot of work to stay on top of it, right? This is why the team is like, we're working with people every day. We're learning new data points and stuff like that. So you're getting that information when you come and tap in with the team as well, right? You're getting the inside access on it. And I will say the other thing is the approach is really more like a consultation approach than just like a one and done, like, hey, we're just getting you funded and then you're just out the door. This is like a long-term, like you're getting educated like on how to do it. As much as you want to know about how to do it, you're getting educated on that along the way. And it's a long-term thing. Like, okay, what am I gonna do now in my business at this point, right? What do I do for this? It's a relationship type of thing that we're looking at, right? Which is another value point that's really important to understand. All right, so let's go. Here we go. All right, so let's talk about LLC. Do I have a one-on-one? Yeah, if you want to do a one-on-one with me, then text me. Like I said, if you tap in with the team, right? Tapping with the team is the best step. But if you really want to touch base with me, then I can carve out some time where you can buy a slot, right, to talk with me directly. All right, Misty, thanks for the follow. All right, Mr. Credito says a down payment for existing business and SBA loan. Ooh, 1,000%, Mr. Credito, 1,000%. Don't let that go over your head. For those that aren't familiar, right? There's a whole, they call it the silver tsunami, right? Of businesses that are being sold by the baby boomers that are retiring, right? That are getting tired of running business, and they're selling these businesses, right? HVAC companies and handyman, like everything you can think of. And you can use an SBA loan to purchase these businesses. Now, SBA is going to give you 90% of the funds to be able to get the business. So let's just say the business costs $1 million. They're going to give you 900,000. That means you have to come up with 100,000. Where is that 100,000 coming from? It can be liquidated directly from your business credit, because we just got you 130K in 30 days. Or we got your credit partner 120K or 150 or 100, right? Or if you're really thinking out of the box, for those of you that are advanced, you say, okay, wait, if I can get 125K in the next 30 days, what if I got 4 other people together? What if I got 5 other people together that qualify, that now that I know the profile, 5 people that got this profile on 5 LLCs, and each person can get 125K, 150K, right? Now we got 625,000 that we can use. So that means we can take down a business that's $5 million, right? That's $3 million. And we collectively can come together and do that. Now that's power. Now we can take down a multifamily, you know what I mean? And if we leverage a strategy in the right way, again, nothing super long term, but if we leverage a strategy in the right way, we have an exit strategy, then we're up. That's a whole different mindset, whole different conversation. All right, you guys put your questions in the chat. Questions in the chat. Yep. So you said you're going to become an entrepreneur. Goal for the end of 2026 is 500K revenue. Can I explain funded? Let me know what you mean by that. Let me know what you mean. Of like how you can get funded. If your goal is to do that, you want 500K in 2026. Hey, you need a mentor that's got a promise like that. At the very least, that you can vet out, that you can check their clients and their mentees and say, hey, did this person really teach you how to make $1 million in a year from scratch? Yes. All right. How much is it to tap in? Oh, it was $20,000 for this mentorship, or it was $10,000 for this part, and then I had to invest another $20,000 in ads in order to be able to really, run it up, or I had to invest another. And guess what? I had all that at business credit because that's what I got in my funding stack. And now I can make those moves versus I got to figure out how to save up. This is why so many people don't get into real estate, right? They don't get into business. It's like, I don't have $30,000 for a down payment for an investment property, right? There's so many people like that. Slick Fitted Infinite. How old does my LLC have to be? 0. For this 0% stacking strategy, we can open an LLC tonight, and we shape it and position it how we want to, and we could be ready for funding in the next 30 days. Now, if your LLC is old, 2 years or more, then there's other benefits we can leverage, right? Again, if you got tax returns and things like that, there's lines of credit we can go after. There's certain loans and things like that. So if your business is aged, it's only going to help. It's going to help your approvals and things like that. However, in order to get you 120,000, 100,000, 150,000, 80,000 in the next 30 days, your LLC does not have to be aged. Now, I hope that's powerful for somebody. All right. Do I do mentor programs? Yeah. Yes, Shivas. Like I said, you can text me and tap in. I will let you. We can work something out. Glad to share and make connections with everything that I've said. Because again, with me having access to these funds as mentorship and education was a lot of where my funds went. So I've studied a lot in real estate, studied a lot in business and personal development and things like that. So glad to tap in. And if anybody wants to do a direct mentorship, we can talk separately about that. Like I said, if your goal is funding, the fastest way, go to fundingmyfuture.net and book a consultation call with the team. All right, book a consultation call so that you can look at your credit or look at your funding situation, your entity, whatever that needs. Money Man, what's up? Thanks for the follow. Is that Cooj? Dagare, thanks for the follow. And I'll say that. Yep, Justin, incredible. Thanks for the follow. Big Dog, appreciate you. Yep. Shiva says you're looking for a mom and pop small business. Yep. And I would definitely suggest to do that under the right mentorship. Based on your goals, Shivas, like what is my goal? What's my outcome that I want? And the size of my outcome is going to determine the size of my path and the size of my inputs. You know what I mean? So like, is that business going to take me to the new realm? I was on a call recently in one of the groups, and they were talking about how it can be really, really beneficial to actually buy a franchise, because now you're doing that, and it's just a matter of putting the people in place to execute the system. You know what I mean? Rather than having to build it from scratch, or rather than having to figure out, okay, how are these people running their business? And did they do this right or not? Everything is laid out. So now you can use the funds to be able to buy a franchise. That's a possibility. All right. So there's all this stuff is totally available. Right. But that's what I'm saying, Shibas, is when you're looking at that mom and pop, do you have the mentorship to be able to tell you, like, what are the exact things I need to look for in this? Because there's a whole lot there. I'm not going to say that it's super easy. It's simple to be able to access it because you can get this business credit, like I said, in the next 30 days. But once you get into it, you got to be able to know, okay, how do I underwrite this? You I mean, what are the issues I need to look out for? What are the things that the seller is not telling the truth about? You know what I mean? Like, you got to know all that. How do I prepare for employees that are there that might not want to work for me as the owner? I mean, there's different things you got to know about, right? And this is why, again, I say that mentorship is one of the most important things that you can leverage, because it just gives you all the sauce, right? You don't have to go through the headaches. And this is a version of what I'm asking you, suggesting that you do in working with the team. It's because that removes the headaches of having to say, okay, well, how do I know if I'm gonna apply for this? Like, what do I do here? What do I do there? You would just take all the guesswork out, because it's just going to tell you exactly. And that's the benefit of that mentorship approach, rather than just kind of navigate it on your own, right? So what if you have an LC over 2 years old but was not structured correctly? Can you still get funding? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Right. And thanks for the follow. Hold the vibes. All right. So yeah, if your LLC is over 2 years old, we can structure it properly now. Right. Now there could be a situation where it's like, hey, we were better off just starting a new LLC, starting a new entity, and making sure that it's exactly the way the banks want to see it. That's a possibility, right? Real possibility. However, there are probably some things we can do to make sure that your LLC is up. Now, have you paid the LLC the state filing every year? Is it in good standing? Right, that's another factor. But the structure of it, and again, I'm going to go through the structure actually right now. For those of you that are still tapped in and still on, appreciate you guys pouring into yourselves, whatever time of night. Where you guys tapped in from? Let me know. What city are you in? What time zone are you in, at least? Let me know where are we at, because are people like me ready to? Like I said, I'm out here. If my daughter wakes up, she's 2. If she wakes up in the middle of the night and I got to go up there, then the live is over. All right, so I get on whenever I can to be able to share this information as much as possible, right? And I know you guys are up here. I see Cali, yep. I see GA, Miami, Florida. Some of you guys are up late, right, getting this information and looking to push things forward. And I'm glad that we stumbled across each other. It's like I said, this is powerful stuff, you guys, to be able to access these funds without all the red tape, right? Without all of the holdups. Extremely powerful. All right. So yeah. So hope that makes sense. Hold the vibes. Yep. So you said I'm doing real estate wholesaling as a minor. Don't know anything about LLCs. Can you explain some basics? All right. So yeah, wholesaling is great. All right. Now I want you to think about your goal overall, but let's talk about LLC, right? And first, I'm going to do it from the standpoint of, what does your LLC entity need to look like to the banks in order to get the max funding? Let's just talk about that first. There's a whole other thing about strategy, tax advantages, of using an LLC or which entity to use versus that S corp, or do I have a corporation, like sole proprietorship, all that stuff. There's like a different conversation. All right. However, when it comes to getting funded, what the banks are looking for, and especially when it comes to this 0% stacking strategy that I'm telling you is so powerful that you can access now, there are certain things that need to be in place. All right. So again, for those of you that are still tapped in, I'm gonna go through that structure right now. So we talked about the personal credit. I'm gonna go through it one more time, just for anybody that's just joining. If you did not hear the sauce on what does a personal credit profile need to look like, not just a score. What does a profile need to look like in order to get access to 100K in the next 30 days, to get access to 80K, 150K, 130K? What does it need to look like? Here we go. If you're just joining in, just get a pen, share this with somebody right now. Like I said, it's life-changing, life-altering information that somebody could just stumble in here and just have their whole situation changed up. All right, so get a pen, share it. Here we go. Number 1. I'm gonna do it quicker this time. Number 1, in your personal credit cards is at least $10,000 to $15,000 in your overall limits. If you add up all your limits, is at least $10,000 to $15,000. And do you have at least 2 cards that have a $3,000 limit or more? Out of that, $10,000 to $15,000. If you're above that, then you're great. Number 2, your utilization needs to be below 30%, ideally below 10%. If you were not here when I explained the utilization hack, oof, I feel sorry for you. But if you ask, I may explain it again briefly. Number 3, your inquiries need to be 0 to 3 inquiries per bureau, right? And as few as possible in the last 6 months. Number 4, you have at least 10 primary accounts in your name that are on your credit report. So that's mortgages, student loans, auto loans, all the above. Is it more than 7 to 10 accounts? Number 5, your average age of your credit needs to be older than 2 years, more than 2 years. Ideally, 4 to 5 years or more is the sweet spot. And number 6, you have no derogatories, no late payments in the last 2 years, and no collections, no charge-offs, and no bankruptcy. If you've got that, you are literally sitting on money. You're literally sitting on 100K, 80K, 120K, 150K. If your potential partner has that, you're literally sitting on 100K that you could be leveraging together through them, 120K, 80K. Also, if your potential referral has that, you're literally sitting on $1,000 a client, $2,000 a client, $3,000 a client, $2,500. That with that sauce that I just gave you, Infinite Grace Home Care, only problem is the credit usage, the utilization. Infinite Grace Home Care, let me know if you were here when I talked about the utilization hack, because that's okay, good. So if that's the only thing, then you are just a few moves away. I still suggest that you book a call with a team if you haven't already, right? But you are only literally a few moves away that are very accessible, because either you have the money to pay it down, you just didn't know that you needed to pay it down. You can just pay it down to below the percentage that we want. Number 1. All right. Number 2 is, okay, I'm getting money from, I got an uncle that's got 20,000 that he can give me temporarily for 40 days because I'm going to do this and then give it back. Hey, if you got that, then great. All right. Otherwise, we're leveraging the personal loan, right? Or some other source. Sometimes even a HELOC can do it. All right. With some other source to be able to move it out of that revolving vehicle and into an installment vehicle. Once we do that, that opens things up completely. So Infinite Grace Home Care, I think you're on the way. I think you're on the way. All right. Now, again, there are other ways that you can access funding. Lots of ways to get funded, you guys. But this strategy is a tool that you need in your tool belt that you need to just be using, period. Because even if you do get other funding, or even if, like in the case of real estate, even if I do have a hard money lender and they're going to fund, 80% of the rehab and the purchase, and I got to come up with 20%. So I could be using the business credit for that 20%. I could be using the business credit for my renovation along the way. So as I have to pay contractors, you have to pay out of pocket and up front before the hard money lender gives you the funds. So I could be paying the contractors. I could be paying for materials. I could be paying my, security and internet, my holding costs while the property is going. Same thing with trucking. I could be paying for the, I got to float my payments to the employee. I got to float these repairs or, all that stuff. It's incredibly powerful to have that tool in your tool belt, even if you're going to be leveraging some of the other things, and we can help with all of the other funding needs. Like I said, SBA loans, all the way down to term loans and equipment financing, vehicle, pretty much anything that you can think of. So that's why I suggest that you book a consultation call, get a free call at fundingmyfuture.net, a free call. All right. And you're going to walk away with value and walk away with some new information. All right. So let's go through this LOC structure. Thank you guys for still tapping in. Victoria. Oh, sorry. Victor Block. Thanks for the follow. All right. So thank you guys for still tapping in. Here we go. This is the second time to get a pin, second time to share. All right. You're going to look at the LLC or the business entity structure. And when I say structure, it's not just how it's structured tax-wise. This is like how it presents to the bank. User 103, thanks for the follow. Whoever you are, appreciate you. All right. And I'm going to say this one more time for those that weren't here earlier. Like I said, I'm here at 1:14 where I am right now. And I squeeze these moments in whenever I can because I want to share as much value as I can. No gatekeep. right? You can take this information and run with it. If you decide to work with us, then even better, because I'll know, at least I'll know you're being taken care of, right? But I believe in abundance, right? I don't have to have scarcity. I can just give it out freely, and then it'll come around positively. And the other way that I believe in abundance is I want to be able to give to make sure that other people are pushing their lives forward, right? Because my desire for the earth is that people will find a way to get into their God-given purpose and to not have to worry about money to do that. So I'm using the funds to be able to get into business and get into investment or whatever it is, to be able to get the freedom so that now you can just live your full life without having to worry. All right. Somebody tell me if that's an interesting thing to you, then we can be friends. So the reason what that looks like now is I want the next generation to be equipped as possible, as educated as possible, to be able to move their lives forward and to change the generational wealth landscape. And for that reason, I have committed to donate and reinvest a portion of my profits to a fund that's going to be helping young entrepreneurs to get into business, to get into real estate, and to get into investment, to get into financial literacy and mentorships, right? To be able to push things forward across the board. So if you're working with me in any way, know that is part of the equation. Again, go to fundingmyfuture.net, fundingmyfuture.net. You can book a free consultation call with the team, or you can text me. And I will get to the text as soon as this live ends. I will get to the text, and you can text me either if you want to know about the affiliate program, to say, how can I refer somebody and get paid $2,000 or $1,000? All right, how can I do that? Or if you would just want to get funding or work on your credit, whatever it is, I can send you the link directly, or you can just go to fundingmyfuture.net and fill out the information. All right, so we're going to go into this business entity structure. Lamont Jr., what are some no-doc products, business line of credit that service clients nationwide? Nationwide, I don't know about nationwide, but there's sometimes like I'll just share this with you, right? Oh, and explain hiding high utilization next. Oh yeah, I'll explain that. User 103. I'll explain that. So Lamont Jr., where you at? Let me know where you're at, Lamont. Because there are certain banks where you can get no docs up to a certain point without triggering that. So like PNC, for example, you can get up to $25,000 in a business line of credit. No doc if you approach it the right way. All right. There's just certain banks and certain credit unions that you have to be aware of, that if you do that, and again, the only way that's going to work is if you have typically if you have an aged LLC. So if your LLC has been open or your entity has been open for 2 years or more, right, in a lot of cases, that's the only way you can get that. Now, Lamont Jr., if you are just dead set on leveraging that approach and you do not have a business that's been open for 2 years, you can get what's called an aged corporation, a shelf corporation. And you can purchase an entity, right, that has 2 to 3 years of age, and then you can leverage that, right? It's a possibility. Now, you don't just get the business financials and all that stuff, but because it's no doc, there's some ways to squeeze between the lines. You can do it, right? So Lamont Jr., you say your business has been 5 years. Yeah, there's some no doc things that you can approach in that way if you do it right. Again, I would suggest to get under consultation of the team to be able to maximize things, but it's definitely a possibility. If you message me, maybe I can share some more of those things with you if that's how you want to go. All right. Now, user 103, high utilization. All right. I talked about it a few times. I'm just explain it one more time to make sure we're all clear on this, because this is one of the most powerful things, because it's such a small, simple move, and you just feel like this is crazy. There's no way that this is this easy. This is this simple. Right? Now, high utilization. Your personal credit score with utilization is based on your revolving credit cards. It is not based on installment products, which is not based on loans, right? Personal loans and things like that. So here is the play. is if I have balances on my personal credit cards and my credit score is suffering because of it, and that's the only thing holding me back from funding, right? I got check marks on all the other stuff that Kyle talked about. That's the only thing holding me back. I can get a personal loan for the amount of the balances that I have and then just pay off the cards with that personal loan. And now my credit score jumps up because my utilization has dropped for that part of the score. And this can jump is about 30% of your score that is for utilization. So that can jump up to 160 points, depending on how much you had utilized, right? So that immediately changes. Now, I've still got the same debt, but now it's just in a personal loan instead of in credit cards. So now I'm positioned to be able to get funding. And here's the rest of the play is now I can go get funded in business credit at 0% interest for 12 to 18 months. 100K, 80K, 150K, 130K. And once I get that, then I can liquidate a portion of that business credit and pay off the personal loan that I just got. And now I'm at 0% interest on the business credit side. So I went from 28% interest, 29% interest on these credit cards to 0% interest on the business credit. And the business credit balances do not show up on my personal report. So now it's completely removed. So the personal loan has been paid off. The credit cards are paid off. Now my report looks clean and solid. This is on the business credit side. Now I have to be ready to make moves. I'm not just going to sit here forever and let it sit and then go on vacation with the money. That's not for you if that's what you're thinking. How am I going to add value to the world? How am I going to benefit the earth so that people pay me for it? That's the question. So what? And then now I have a bunch of funds to be able to use to be able to do that. So let me know if that makes sense, user. So, but the utilization has made the credit score so low, loans have not been approved. So this is why you need to tap in with the team, user 103, because there might be certain lenders that we know about that you don't know about. Or there might be certain ones that might have an unfavorable interest rate. They call them subprime lenders, right? Well, they will do it because your credit score is lower. They will do it, but they're going to charge you more interest. But why don't we care about interest? Chesley Turner, thanks for the follow. Why don't we care about interest in this case? If this is a part of this strategy and we're executing back to back to back, and this is the only thing holding us back from funding, and now we're able to get the funding, we can get a high interest rate loan for 20 days, for 30 days, and then we're just going to pay it off with the business credit. So that's why I say, user 103, you don't know what you don't know. So it helps to tap in with the team. Because they'll look at your situation and say, okay, this is the amount that you have. This is your profile. This is your work situation, your income. Maybe we can try this option. And there might be more than you think. But again, that credit score is just going to determine what type of product that you can get and what type of interest rate you can get. But we might not care because if we're not letting it sit there for a while, it might be all good. Tizzy, thanks for the follow. Now, you guys put your questions in the chat, right? We're going to go through the business entity structure and setup. All right, let me know if that makes sense, user 103. What are some different ways someone can liquidate business credit cards? Let me start with the best way. All right. Shamarita Grinds. Shamarita Grinds? Let me know if that's right. Thanks for the follow. So Tiffany Wiggins, what are some different ways? Let me start with the best way. Is to work with somebody that can just do it directly, do it compliant. You ain't got to worry about how am I navigating this with my taxes and all this different stuff, right? The best way is just to work with somebody and to just pay the fee and to factor the fee into whatever you're doing with the business to make new money, because it's the fastest. Because we can do it in-house in 2 to 3 days. If you really, really need it, we can do it same day up to 500,000. Liquidate it, clean. All right. There's other companies out there. It might take a week or two, and you have a percentage that you're paying. You pay the fee and you move forward. That's the cleanest way and the best way to do it. Now, there's other ways to do it. Somebody mentioned, hey, you can use plastique. Some you can use, you have a friend and they charge you an invoice, and then you charge them an invoice, and now you're sending money back and forth, and now you've liquidated it and things like that. that can happen, but you got to make sure your taxes are tight because now you got extra income that you got to pay tax on or you got to account for. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to navigate it right because sometimes the banks might not like it. You don't want to get your merchant account closed down or your bank account closed down. All right. There's some other things, Tiffany Wiggins, if you have the stomach for it, called manufactured spending, and then where people will do all sorts of stuff to liquidate cards into cash, but it's a lot of legwork because now you got to go to the store and you got to buy these items and you got to return this items to your debit card, and there's like all sorts of strategies people do, buying gift cards, but it's kind of a lot. Like I said, for me, it's a lot of gray area. It's a lot of legwork that I don't have the desire to get into. It's especially if I can find a way to just do it cleanly. All right. So if you want to research that yourself, it's okay. I'm determined to figure out how to liquidate these cards. I mean, at no cost. Somebody's paying for it, but at no cost. Right. I'm gonna figure it out. And there's ways to do it, but those ways adjust and shift, and you got to be ready to do that legwork. And hopefully, I would assume that those of us on this live right now are focusing on business. Like, what am I doing to be able to maximize business? Right? Lindsay Knott, thanks for the follow. Manny Fresh, appreciate you. Thanks for the follow. The cleaner way seems better. Yep, Tiffany. Like I said, it's possible. It's possible to do, but it's legwork, and like I said, it's gray area a lot of times. All right. So, and this is, again, when you're tapped in with a team, we can help you. We have a way to do it in-house, right? There's a couple other options. There's some companies I work with that are possible, but there's a way to do it in-house that can be done quickly, 2 to 3 days on regular, or if you want to max it out, same day. If you can factor that into your whatever you're doing. All right. Never quit. Thanks for the follow. All right. So again, you guys put your questions in the chat. So let's go through real quick. Because I gotta I get excited sharing this information, but I gotta make sure I can get some sleep and be ready for tomorrow. All right. But I'm gonna go through this entity structure. All right. If anybody missed anything, let me know. I will go back. All right. So you said haven't opened a credit card. Did I miss another comment? Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for repeating your comment. Sorry, I missed it earlier. Haven't opened a credit card as a minor. Can me and you work together to create a plan to ensure that you're able to fund your LLCs and ensure a good future? Yeah, for sure. Yep, for sure. So so this is like the whole point. So if you are young and you haven't opened a credit card, one, you need to be leveraging the other strategies. Like I said, right now, nothing's stopping you from having a credit partner to execute. Nothing stopping you from referring people to be able to make significant money, right? Nothing stopping you from doing that right now. And then when it's time to build up, okay, we need to build your profile. If you got nothing in your profile, we need to build your profile to say, okay, how can I get multiple accounts on my profile so that when I go apply for my first credit card, I can get a higher limit credit card to begin with on my personal credit. And then I'm going to let that season for 6 months, for a year. You know what I mean? So like, for example, like if you get in, there's certain credit unions and things like that. If you get into Navy Federal is known, if you have a good relationship with them, for giving out high limits on a personal credit card, even if you don't have a lot of history. So that might be a $10,000 card for your first card, $15,000, $20,000 for your first card. If you tap a few other credit unions and Wings Financial, and there's a few other things that you can do to be able to get some high limit cards, and you throw in some of the big banks. It might not be as high limit, but it's nice to have in your report. You have a few things that you can season on your report, and then just start the ball rolling in that direction, right? But if you start from scratch and you got nothing on your report first, then that's how a lot of times you can get a super low limit, right? Sheba says you got 36K with them. Is that Navy Federal? Yep, that's up. Yep. So it's just a part of the strategy. Just say, okay, well, how am I approaching all of this to build up? But again, if you're young, hey, this is the best time. You're getting the best information right now. And that's literally what I was what I was doing. So you said the late apply is the hack that you use, or to be able to do it. Hey, if you got the tricks out there, use the tricks. If they're working, then use them. All right. Yeah, for Navy, right? So again, there's other ones you can leverage. And again, we want the higher limits that we have on the personal side. That's going to determine the limits that they give us on the business side. All right. All right. So let's jump into this. All right. Business entity structure. Like I said, this is important. However, it's not as important as the personal, right? Because if you have the personal, we can get the business. All right. If you don't have the personal, we gotta navigate those other avenues. All right. But here's what the business entity looks like. I'm just gonna share it. And she goes, yep, no problem. Appreciate it. Glad to share the information and glad it's helpful. Right. What's the percentage to liquidate card in-house? Right. So I would say, I'm gonna just tell you. So typically it's going to be around 6%, right? So the credit card fee in general is going to be 3%. All right. So it's like 3 on top of that. Right. Now, if you want the same day, then there's going to be more. Again, there's other companies out there that charge like 8%, some 10%, some 15% I've seen to be able to liquidate like with that direct method. All right. So it's going to vary. But again, if you want to know about that, or if you just need liquidation, you can reach out to me and I can connect you with some resources to be able to do it. All right, if that's what you need. But if you're working with a team already, then we're going to be making sure you know about that. Right? Is consulting a high risk NAICS code? It depends. Honey Gen Xer, thanks for the follow. Right? Is consulting a high risk NAICS code? In general, no. Shebas. In general, no. However, because everybody found out that consulting was not a high risk code, everybody started using it. Right. And then it's in some banks' eyes, it became played out. So you just have to know how to navigate it. So it is not a hard and fast thing that if you're doing that it's just like instant, like a problem. However, the new sauce is kind of like if you're doing anything that's geared towards marketing, anything that's geared towards education, some things like that, then that can still be the least friction. However, there are situations where consulting can still work, and this is part of the approach that I'm about to break down right now. All right, this is part of the approach as far as what do we put together so that we're in the best position, so that the banks look at our business and see the best possible thing. Right? Yep, digital marketing. Yeah, digital marketing is solid either way. You're just doing it directly, or if you're kind of positioning your business to be doing that. Right? If you can spin it in any sort of way, say, okay, my business, I'm doing some sort of consulting for other people, even if I do Etsy, you know what I mean? And that's my business. But if at any point I'm doing consulting, you can kind of position it that way. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that real quick. So you say you're thanks for putting your mind on the map for this. Definitely be sending a message to the approach. Yeah. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, glad you're here. Like I said, this is life-changing information, and especially if you're young and you're hearing about this, that's the best thing. Because even like I said, even if you're not ready for it now, you can be leveraging this exact. If you took notes on what I said, literally, you could be making 5,000, 10,000 a month, 15,000 a month just from referring people. Not far-fetched at all, right? Or if you know what business you're about to execute, your mentorship, you're working on your personal development to make sure your mindset isn't blocking you from succeeding. All that stuff. You can if you have the funds to be able to put towards that stuff, you're ready to execute, then this can be extremely powerful, right? And what can be extremely powerful can also be extremely dangerous. So as a double-edged sword, you got to make sure that you're ready to execute, because the last thing you want to do is, use up all the money and you've got shiny object syndrome. You did 10 different things and none of them really panned out. You got to be able to focus in. You got to be able to dig in with this to say, okay, what's my ROI on this? I'm not going to do anything with this money that doesn't have an ROI, doesn't have a return. All right. So here we go. So I'm gonna zip through this real quick. All right. So your entity structure. Number one, if you got a pen, write this down. If you're sharing it, share it. You guys, if this has been valuable for you, hit the like button. It's the easiest thing you can do. And just keep on tapping the like button. Share this with somebody. If it's been important, then send a gift. This is what helps the algorithm know that this is good information. It's going to let other people, know about it. But again, you can just keep tapping the likes if you got nothing else. It's easy. Thank you guys so much. All right, thanks for tapping in. Literally, pun intended. And being in here and getting this information. Like I said, no gatekeep. I just want you to have it. I want you to know it so that you can start positioning yourself. And again, I would suggest to book a free consultation call with the team, because it's just the fastest way to know, like, what is my next step? What do I need to do, whether that's with my credit, or am I just ready and I didn't know I was ready, or, what I need to do to get funded as soon as possible. All right. And you guys can always reach out. Thanks for the follows. You can reach out and stay tapped in with me as well. All right. So here we go. Entity structure. Number one, you need to have a business name that is not high risk. Tanya, thanks for the follow. You need to have a business name that is not high risk. Now, what is a high risk business name? Any name that indicates an industry that the banks don't like, because regardless of your NAICS code, I heard Sheba's talking about NAICS code because I see Sheba's been studying. The NAICS code is your business like official category, basically. And even if you have a certain NAICS code, if your name makes it seem like it's a certain type of business, they're going to judge you based on the name. Now, what are some high risk industries? This might be real estate, could be trucking and logistics, could be a cannabis or gambling, or, there's random things you can look up. You can look up these lists, right? But the easiest way to go is to make a super generic and super boring name that's very centralized, right? So what is that? Keyword enterprises, keyword group, keyword solutions, keyword holdings. If you have something that's very generic, then that can position you to be able to, and then on top of that, then you're going to choose, like, okay, what is the NAICS code? What is the business description that I'm submitting to the banks? Where if I have a conversation with somebody, this is what I'm saying, that this is what we do, right? So this is kind of the backdrop of all this. To just keep it generic. All right. Now, thanks for the follow, Tanya. Next, number 2, your business address needs to be something that looks stable to the banks. That means it does not look like a PO box. All right. I'm going to zip through these and I'm going to loop around for some more detail. All right. Number 3, once you have that, you need to have a business phone number that's dedicated, that is not your cell phone. All right. You need to have DMV. Appreciate you. Thanks for the follow. You need to have a business website and a domain-based email address. All right. Dedicated site. I'm going to loop back for details on this, especially if you guys have questions, put them in the chat. So no Gmail, no Yahoo, your info at yourbusiness.com or whatever the case. Then you need to make sure that your business presence is solid online. All right. So this is, do you show up on Google? Do you show up on Yelp? Do you show up on Bing? You can add your information to all those sites, right, for your business. And do you show up like in the 411 registry? So you can go to listyourself.net. You can write that down. You can go to listyourself.net and you can submit your information to the 411 registry. Either you can pay for the national one or you can do the free one for the local. Doing those things, right, adds to your business in a way that it makes it look presentable. Right now, once you have that information, you need to make sure it's all the same across every place that is listed. What does that mean? My address, the way the address is written, the way the name is written, whether I've abbreviated anything or whether I have dots, or it needs to be exactly the same, because any difference, write this down, please. Any difference is going to flag as a different business. And when the computer gets confused about which business it's doing, a confused mind always says no. So it's going to start handing out denials. It's going to hand out low limits, or it's going to push you to a different category place. All right. So you want to be mindful of how you set that up. Now, that's the overview of the business entity structure. Nothing to do with your tax election, right? That's a separate conversation. Nothing to do with, like I said, do you have an LLC? Do you have a partnership, sole proprietor? We can get all of them funded. But the structure is, how does this look to the banks? Does it look like a business that's going to be around for a while? Right? And does it look as legit as possible? Once we have those, then we're solid. Again, put your questions in the chat. Thank you guys for tapping in. And I'm gonna loop around for some detail if you guys want it, or we can go back to the personal side.